Welcome back. The World Hydrogen Summit and exhibition is taking place in Rotterdam, Ahoy, Netherlands from the 13th till the 15th of this month. The summit brings together governments and companies across the supply chain to drive forward the industry and ensure hydrogen plays a vital role in the energy transition. We are joined now via Zoom by Mr. James Mnyupe, the Green Hydrogen Commissioner, who is representing Namibia at the summit. Mr. Mnyupe, good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me on the Daily Roundup, reporting here, of course, from Ahoy in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. Very exciting day today.
Well, as I mentioned, the summit is from the 13th until the 15th, but perhaps you can just give us an overview of the key discussions that took place today at the World Hydrogen Summit.
Sure. So, and maybe just to mention to the viewers, of course, well, most of us were here at the World Hydrogen Summit back at The Hague, which is about 36, 37 minutes away from here. Our president obviously had bilateral discussions with the King of the Netherlands, and then, of course, with the Prime Minister of the Netherlands as well. So we'd be looking forward to that feedback from those two deliberations. Of course, Namibia looking to really collaborate with the Netherlands around skills development, around, of course, town transformation for Ludritz, and then, of course, cooperation along the lines of offtake support mechanisms to make sure that the molecules that are made in Namibia are indeed received here in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. So that would have been at The Hague, but here at Ahoy in Rotterdam, we came and we saw, of course, the summit. There was also a VIP boat tour for some of us who were able to go on that tour, and we would have gone through a 45-kilometer view of the port, seeing all manner of installations from refineries to receiving terminals for ammonia to where they will store a lot of bulk commodities. It's a massive, massive piece of infrastructure here. Imagine driving from Windhoek all the way to Okahanja, and along the way you're seeing massive, massive billion-dollar installations. So that's really what was happening at the port itself. Within the summit, of course, we had Dowres here from Namibia exhibiting. They partook in various discussions with strategic investors. We saw, for example, a big company called Zero engage the project Dowres on potential future collaboration in Namibia because, of course, Zero is building a project in Namibia as well. We also obviously saw our Minister of International Relations and Cooperation come to the summit. He was accompanied by our Director General of the National Planning Commission. And there we took our minister from different stands, showing them how the Canadians are building a green hydrogen industry on their ports and how they're looking to export their molecules to here, all the way to, of course, electrolyzer manufacturers that might want to set up shop in Namibia. And of course, we also showed them a whole regional society in, or at least association in Germany called Rhine-Ruhr that would be looking to receive direct reduced iron from Namibia all the way to Duisburg, where they could use that iron, for example, to make green steel. So it's all happening here, of course, at Ahoy, Rotterdam today. However, of course, the real key sort of day is tomorrow, when our president will be giving the keynote address at 9 o'clock in the morning here in the main stadium just behind me. And of course, on the African Hydrogen Forum just to the left, our Minister of Mines and Energy will also be giving an address to all manner of African leaders. So tomorrow morning is a big day for us as the Namibian people here at Ahoy, and we're very much looking forward to that.
Fantastic. Well, Mr. Mnyupe, how do you envision the World Hydrogen Summit contributing to the advancement of Namibia's green hydrogen projects?
So, I think it's extremely useful for our policymakers, for our entrepreneurs, to come and see the global community that is developing around the production of clean hydrogen. Because it's one thing to sit at home and do the research on the internet, but it's another to come and actually meet ThyssenKrupp Nucera, who are looking to supply gigawatts of electrolyzers to the NEOM green hydrogen project in Saudi Arabia. Reading about it is one thing, coming to see the actual electrolyzer is another. I think it's also very important to meet fellow legislators. So, for example, this morning, the Namibian Green Hydrogen Program hosted a bunch of technical experts from various African countries under the African Green Hydrogen Alliance. And we all met in our pavilion and we were discussing various technical aspects of legislation, certification, standards that African countries will have to align around so that when we're trading with other, continental partners around the world, at least we're talking the same language. And again, you can have these phone calls in Zoom, but there's no replacement for sitting around a table and realizing that the tax incentive in Mauritania is something that, our Namibian revenue agencies should be considering as well in order to be competitive. So the World Hydrogen Summit is extremely useful for making physical connections, but also for manifesting and seeing what the vision of our leaders actually looks like in the real world. And then, of course, there is really no substitute for driving out into the port of Rotterdam and looking at their 200 megawatt electrolyzer, looking into the ocean and seeing 300 turbines into their northern sea, operating already, creating electricity that then comes back onto shore using underground cables, and then they use that to make hydrogen. So it's really a place where theory begins to meet practice. And of course, a key thing here is, of course, you're engaging your customers, because these are the companies and the countries that will be looking to buy a lot of what we're making in Namibia.
On that note, you mentioned that you'll be addressing your customers. You mentioned also that the president will be giving his keynote address tomorrow. Can you tell us briefly what the president might be touching on?
Absolutely. We really expect the president, of course, to be thanking the organizers and the Dutch government for inviting him to come. We obviously expect him to start touching on some of the intra-African activities that are taking place. So, for example, the Green Hydrogen Program is expected to sign an MOU to collaborate on research with the Western Cape Development Agency and the Northern Cape Development Agency, and a Dutch company called Cassini that builds hydrogen backbones. And the idea here is that the concept of building a hydrogen backbone from Lutrix to Bukobai all the way to Saldanha with the T-junction to Sassel, we're going to be taking that concept, that vision, that idea one step further that when we actually start studying the feasibility of actually building that hydrogen backbone. So I think the president will be looking to mention some of that. Of course, the important thing as well, we expect the president to invite the world to Namibia, as he announces, of course, that Namibia will be hosting Global African Hydrogen Summit between the 3rd and the 5th of September this year. And he will be inviting everyone from really around the world to come to Namibia, not just to talk about green hydrogen policies and incentives, but really to come and visit the various projects that we're building in Namibia. At the moment, we have more than 9 projects under development. By September, we should have, at least 3 operating at full capacity, and another one at some really advanced level of construction. And it will be good for those delegates to come and see that as well. So we expect him to extend that invitation tomorrow as well. And then, of course, lastly, we obviously expect him to really sort of pay homage to our late president who had really started this journey, and really to, I think, encourage us young people to go beyond what those original visions were and to really deliver economic emancipation for people. But, roughly, this is what we're